It's nasty cold.
20b.
Higher.
Okay. Amud base.
Today I am much more robust. Base.
Yeah, Chafam base 20b, about 10 lines from the bottom. Okay. Tana Kameder of Chisda. There was a teaching that was taught in front of Chisda. Echad hamakif ve'echad hanikaf. So we know we just learned someone who cuts off the hairs of part of their heads by the temples, things like that, so you are liable. So is the one who's getting cut. So you go to the barber, and the barber starts cutting off your payas. So says Rav Chisda, assuming the barber's a Jew and the customer's a Jew, the barber gets lashes, and the customer gets lashes. So Amar Lei, so Rav Chisda said back, Man da achal tmari ba'arbila lucky. It's like an expression, someone who eats dates in a sieve, you get lashes, meaning, what did you do? He just was eating, as if he was eating figs, eating dates. It's just a phrase of saying the guy that got the haircut did nothing wrong. What did he do? He just sat there and the guy cut off his payas. So Damar Lach, no. This teaching of the Brisa is according to the opinion, Mani Rabbi Yehuda. It's according to Rabbi Yehuda that says, Lav she'ein b'maisa lo kinalav. That Rabbi Yehuda says that even a negative prohibition that does not carry with it an act gets malchus. So yeah, so therefore it could even be according to him. It could even be according to the opinion that if you don't do anything, you'll still get lashes. So then you have to say that Rabbi Yehuda understands the verse in the Torah as not only referring to the one who cuts the payas off, but even the one who lets the payas be cut off. Obviously, he did it forcibly; it's a different story. But if you maybe
he took a nap.
Right. So if he took a nap and the guy walked up to him, then you're probably not liable for lashes. But if you're sitting there and he's cutting off your payas, so even though you are passive, Rabbi Yehuda holds someone who's passive can still get lashes. You just have to add in, and he must also hold that when the Torah says lo sakifa, you can't take off the edges of your head, it's not only referring to the cutter, but it's even referring to the one who is passive. Okay, so that's that. Rava Omer b'makif la'atzmo. The guy's giving himself a haircut, so you'll be liable for giving the cut and for letting it be cut. So you're right. So you're liable for both being the cutter and letting it be cut. You would have found you're only liable for one because it's only one violation, and the novelty is that there's two violations. Fine. A third opinion. Rabba says that you're giving yourself a haircut, and it's according to all the opinions, even the one that holds that you have to do an act, because since you're the one that's giving yourself a haircut, you're cutting and letting it be cut. Rav Asha Omer b'misayeya v'divrei hakol. You're back to the barber, so someone else is giving you a haircut, but you're assisting him. He says, move your head to the left, turn your neck this way, and you're going with it. So that's also considered an act. You're helping him. By helping him, you're also in violation of the So don't let your payas be cut off. Yeah. Okay. Hamashchis payas zikno, someone who cuts off the beard. So Tan Rabbanan payas zikno, sof zikno. One brisa says the corners of your beard means the end of your beard. Where's the end? The ezu sof zikno. It means shiboles zikno. So shiboles zikno is all five corners. I read the whole dispute what exactly they are, but we could say basically the top of the jaw is 2, the bottom of the jaw is 2 more, and the chin area. So I think that they bring 3 opinions, exactly what the parameters are of where these 5 areas are. But it's from here that we don't use we don't use the shavers, right? Many razors nowadays they're really just scissors. They're little tiny scissors working very fast.
Right.
But if there would be something else like a shaver, which would destroy all the way down to the skin, That could be a real problem. So, okay. We said hamasarit srita achas. So, if you cause a scratch in your body, you're chayav. Yeah. So now, Taner Rabbanan. Good morning, Steve. So Taner Rabbanan, the sarat yachol afilu sarat al beitzo shenafal al sfinoso shetava bayam. So it's very interesting. The Torah says you make a scratch on your body as a reaction to someone who died. You're liable. You would have thought maybe it's a reaction to any negative thing that happens, such as a house collapse or a ship drown. Talmud lower, no, lenefesh. Eino chayv el ala meis bavad. It's only in reaction to someone who died. It's the death that the way you react to is by making this permanent, this cut, this scar in your body. So I heard an interesting thing. So what if it's a reaction to someone who dies, but not because they're dead? So let's say they were someone who's, I don't know, maybe someone who supported you. Maybe you're maybe the fact that they were like a scholar, a Torah scholar. So not necessarily in reaction to that person, but maybe to what they did or their act. I don't know. It's just, how do you view it? Any kind of death? I mean, as long as they died, didn't you react to it? Or it's specific to the fact that they're not alive anymore? Maybe just because they gave money, they're a big donor. Who knows?
The departed soul.
Yeah. So, okay. How do you know that if you go and make 5 scars for one dead person, that you're liable? 5. It says visarat, and Rash says either the verse could have been stated differently without the or the extra vav of visarat. L'chayev al kol srita v'srita, to be liable for each and every scratch. So that's a visara. You're liable for each and every scar that you make. Rabbi Yossi Amar minayin lemisari srita akat klamesh mesa. How do you know, according to Rabbi Yossi, that you make 1 scratch for 5 people that died, that you're liable not 1, but you're liable 5? And it was 1 act, because it was in response to 5, you're liable 5 lashes. Talmud lomer lenefesh, l'chayev al kol nefesh v'nefesh. It says lenefesh, so you're liable for each and every nefesh, each and every soul that's departed. You're liable for that, even though you scratched it once, but it's in that 1 scratch was 5 reactions, so you're liable for each one. It says the Gemara, we already used the word lenefesh to teach you that you're only liable biblically if you react to a parted soul and not to a house that collapsed or a ship that drowned. So that's not available to you to use. So we say to Savar Rabbi Yossi, srita v'gdida achasi. So there's 2 things. There's to make a srita, and there's to make a gedida. Now, the differences really are that gedida is using a vessel, and srita is using your hand to make a scar in your body. But according to Rabbi Yossi, they're really the same prohibition, even though the definition of the words, one involves a vessel and one involves your hands. But Rabbi Yossi holds they're both teaching you the same thing. If they're both teaching you the same thing, so it says by gedida, uksiv hasam lames, it's only in reaction to a dead person. So therefore, he already learns from the word gedida that it has to be a reaction to someone who died and not someone whose house collapsed or ship drowned. Therefore, lenefesh for Rabbi Yossi over here is available to teach you that that if you cut yourself once in reaction to 5 departed souls, 5 people who died, you'd be liable 5. So according to Rabbi Yossi, because he understands that these 2 parshas, the 2 sections of the Torah, are really teaching the same thing. The 1 word says lenefesh, it's a reaction to someone who died, and 1 parsha says lemes, it's a reaction to someone who died. So what are these 2 things? 1 teaches you it's only liable biblically for someone who died, and not for a ship that drowned or a house that collapsed. And the other one teaches you that even if you do it once, but because it's a reaction to 5 people, you'll be liable for each one of those. So it could be that it's rabbinically prohibited, but not biblically. But yeah.
The way they talk.
Right. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel says, "Hamasare b'kli chayiv." Shmuel says that yeah. So Shmuel says Hamasare b'kli chayiv. So Shmuel's spelling it out that the word Masare really implies a vessel, and one who makes a scar with a vessel is liable. Yeah. Yeah. So Mese says the Gemara is going to challenge this. Srita vigdida achasi ela srita biyad vigdida b'kli. It says that really srita and gedida, both different kinds of scratches and gashes, are really one. They're really one violation. Just one's with a vessel and one's with your hand. Yeah, so now, just to back up for a second, sorry. Shmuel, who said, yeah, really, okay, like this. So Shmuel just told us that Hamasarit B'kli is liable. Now, in the Torah, the word Masarit and the word Gedida are both referring to making wounds on your body. Really, the word Gedida is the one that implies a vessel, and this word Masarit implies your hand. Shmuel, who says Hamasarit B'kli, you're liable, he's saying that they're both one. So even if the word Masarit, which means with your hand, if you use a vessel, you're liable for that also. So they're both interchangeable. Whether you use a vessel or use your hand, you're liable too, both for Masarit and for Gedida. But says the Brisa, Meisei Srita Gedida Achasi. It says Ela Srita Biyad V'Gedida B'Kli. Sounds like you're right. They're one thing that they both tell you that you can't make a wound, but one's with your hand and one is with a vessel. That seems to fly in the face of Shmuel. Now this is a Brisa. Shmuel's an Amora. So he says, you're right. Who the Amar ki Rabbi Yossi? Shmuel goes like Rabbi Yossi, who says that they're both really teaching the same thing. So in summary, there's Srita and Gedida. There are two ways of making a wound on the body. The literal translation is Gedida means a vessel. Srita means your hand. Now there's two opinions. Is what, even though one means vessel and one means hand, is that what the Torah is stringent? It's strict, meaning it's only going to be liable if you use a hand or only if you use a vessel, or no, it's just two different prohibitions about making wounds. And if you make a wound with your hand, you're liable too, or if you make a wound with a vessel, you'll be liable too. But or no, liable with a vessel is one, and a scratch with your hand is a separate prohibition. So that's two opinions. Yeah. Tani Kamei Rabbi Yochanan al mace for a dead person, bein biyad, bein b'kli chay. So whether you use your hand or whether you use a vessel, you're liable. Now, al avodas kochavim. Let's say there's a certain worship that you wound yourself. It's kind of idol worship. So al avodas kochavim biyad chayiv and b'kli pater. So since the idol worship is done by making a wound with your hand, if you were to make a wound with a vessel in the name of the idol, then you're not going to be liable for that, because the regular way to serve the idol is to make a wound with your hand, and now with a vessel. But it says the opposite. It says it says that they would use vessels for idol worship. That they would make scars with vessels. You're right. You have to amend the Brisa because it's against the pasuk in Tanakh. What it means is, if with your hand, you'll be exempt, but with a vessel, you'll be liable. Yeah. Okay. So now we said v'chayiv al harosh. So a person's going to be liable for to remove the parts of the head, two from here, and one in the middle, that you're going to be liable. So says the Gemara, Machi Rav Sheshes ben Pirki Deresha. Rav Sheshes went and showed people where it was, the two jaws and the chin. exactly where these 5 areas were, that one's going to be liable. No, sorry, that's the next part. That's the next part. Sorry. One sec. What's ala rosh? The chayiv ala rosh is what, to make a bald spot? No. Oh, yeah. Sorry. On that, he showed people where the 2 temples are, meaning where the area by the ears is that connects the front and the back of the head. He showed them where that is, and if you cut off what we know as the payas, that's going to be liable. The beard that has the 5 areas, Rav Shesha showed people where the ends of the beard is to show people where you're liable. Yeah. Rabbi Eliezer Omer im natlan. So Rabbi Eliezer said in the Mishnah, he said, if you took them all out at once, then you're only chayav 1. That was Rabbi Eliezer. And then the Mishnah said you're only chayav with a razor, to which Rabbi Eliezer said even if you use the pliers, not pliers, tweezers. Thank you. If you use tweezers, then you'll be liable. Yeah. So Rabbi Eliezer Omer im natlan, if you take all of them at once, you're liable. Kasavar chad lafu. These 5 parts of the beard, if you take them all out at once, you're liable 1, because he holds it's only 1 prohibition. When it says don't take the parts of the beard, it means it's referring to all those areas, and therefore, if you take them all off at once, you'll be liable 1. Yeah. You have to use a shaver, and according to Rabbi Eliezer, you can use even the tweezers. So now, you can't take off the edges of the beards. So you would have thought any kind of removal, even with using scissors, you'd be liable. Then we all have nice long beard. It says you can't destroy. So if it only said ilo tashis, you can't destroy the hairs of your beard, you would have thought even any kind of destruction, even just taking it out with the tweezers, you'd be liable. So it says lo yigalechu. So, which means that you can't remove. It says the Gemara, which one is it? I can't destroy, or I can't remove the hairs. What it means is it's a giluach sheyesh bo hashchasa. Have omer zetar. What the Torah means to say is it's a removal of the hair, which involves destruction. That's what we say when it says using a shaver. So it's removing hair, but not just like cutting it off. But it sounds like it removes it, it gets down and all the way to the skin and totally takes it off. So I'm assuming the regular shave, I don't know, check every shaver, but I'm assuming the shavers, even when they shave, they still leave a tiny bit, right? It's not a perfect right. So that's not called hashchasa, but if it would totally remove it, it sounds like it'd be a problem. It would be a real problem. Rabbi Eliezer says even if you use the tweezers, you're still liable. So says the Gemara Manav Shach. How does he hold? If he learns out what we just learned, then he should require a shaver, not tweezers. Liba and ilo gomer gzeira shava. If he doesn't learn out that it's gzeira shava, that the word shaving and destruction are learned one from another, like we just said. So then misparaim namilo. Then you can't even use scissors. So which one is it? Laolam gomer gzeira shava. Really, he does learn the gzeira shava, but why doesn't he require a shaver? Because savar haninami giluach avdi. This word giluach, which we translate as shaving, Rabbi Eliezer holds even using tweezers is considered shaving. So there's a dispute what exactly shaving is. Is shaving involving a shaver, or even tweezers plucking that off is enough of a destruction for Rabbi Eliezer that it's also considered under the category of shaving. So 2 opinions: what exactly is shaving, tweezers or the shaver? Okay, so tattoos. Hakosev ksubas kaka. So you go and you basically make some kind of wound and write in that wound in your skin. We call a tattoo. Hakosef suvas kaka. So kasav below kaka below kasav. If you just wrote on your skin, but you didn't make that but you didn't make the indentation in your skin with either a needle or a knife, something like that, or the opposite, you made the indentation, but you didn't do any writing. Eino chayiv. Now it's interesting. Does writing include pictures? That would save a lot of people. I mean, Shabbos writing is also pictures. You can't write on Shabbos letters. You can't draw pictures either. Now, what if you draw something that's totally meaningless? Right. Let's say not I love Kesser and not a picture of an Israeli flag, but something totally meaningless, gibberish. So what's with that? Meaning when it says you have to write, what does writing mean? Does that have meaning behind the writing? Or any kind of, I don't know, that's interesting. Yeah, exactly, any kind of marking, yeah. So you have to write and make indentation. Whether you use this like makeup, right, the blue kind of makeup, or anything which leaves a mark, any kind of coloring that's going to leave the mark, you'll be liable. Rabbi Shimon Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon Yehuda, and then Rabbi Shimon says, "Eino chayav ad sheyichtov sham es Hashem, shenamar uksovas hakaka lo titnu bachem ani Hashem." We'll see what that means. It sounds like he's very, very specific. You have to only make a tattoo, something regarding Avodah Zarah. The Gemara is going to ask. Fine. Amar le Rav Acha breder Rav le Rav Ashi. Said to Rav Ashi, ad yichtov. Okay, that's right now. So what does it mean until you write the name? Is it until you write Ani Hashem Mamish? Maybe the only time you're liable for a tattoo is when you tattoo in your body, I am God. Maybe that's when you're liable. Amar le, no, that's not true. It's only when you tattoo into yourself the name of an idol. You can't put a tattoo in your body. I am God. I am God and not an idol. You can't put the idol, the name of the idol, into your body. So that would be a very big leniency. The only tattoo one is liable for is if it's the name of an idol. Yeah. So, okay. Now here's like a little bit of a interesting small Gemara before the next Mishnah. So now, basically, there's two people, Rav Malkiah and Rav Malkio. One ends with an aleph and one ends with a vav, and they each said 4 or 5 random halachas put together. And now we're going to have a dispute who said what. Yeah. Amr of Malkiah with an aleph, Amr of Ada bar Ava. Asr lo Adam. Oh, not yet. That's coming up in a second. Sorry. Also, I jumped the gun. Also, the Adam sheet and for makla gav makos. A person's not allowed to put any kind of ashes on top of his wound. Why? Because it looks like a tattoo. So even on your wound, if you put some ashes on your wound and it leaves a mark, so that's going to look like a tattoo. Amr of Nachman breder of Ika. Okay, so now shpod. So Rav Nachman said in the name of Rav Ika that shpod, skewer, shvachos, maidservants, the gumos and holes. Okay, Rav Malkio. Those were said by Rav Malkio. We'll explain in a second. Bloris, afer makla, which what we need is putting the ashes. Bloris is a lock of hair. Afer makla, vigvina. These 3 is Rav Malkio, not Rav Malkio. And basically, these are just references to different halachas, many of which are mentioned in Mishnayos. So Afer Makla is ours. Shpod is a skewer that after you cook with it on Yontif, is it muktzah or not? Can you move it? Shvachos is a woman has to do certain obligations in the house. Now, what if she brings in maidservants to do it for her? So that's a dispute. Can she do that or not? The reason why she can't do that because it's going to lead to boredom. And boredom leads to craziness. So that's why she has to keep busy. Yeah. So we also have to keep busy. So so that's shvachos. Then beloris is the idol worshippers that would leave this. They would have these locks of hair that they would cut. So if you would cut that off, then that's like doing idol worship. So you can't do that. And then A for machla is our case of putting the ashes on the wound. That looks like a tattoo. And gavina is a reference to what we know now as, not eating cheese that are produced by a non-Jew, right? It's a big misnomer. We think like people keep Chalav Yisrael, and some people don't keep Chalav Yisrael. It's not true. We all keep Chalav Yisrael. We're not allowed to have cheese from a non-Jew. The question just is, what is Chalav Yisrael? So is OUD Chalav Yisrael, or is it not? But it's not. It's not. Everyone keeps. Yeah. So okay, fine. So those are that. So either that's Rav Malkiah or Rav Malkiah. Now, Rav Papa Amar, he said any Mishnah or Brisa that was just quoted, Masnisin Masnisa, that's going to be Rav Malkiah. So any Mishnah or Brisa is Rav Malkiah, and Shmaitita, any other teachings is Rav Malkiah. The Simonech, and a way to remember it is Masnisa is Malkisa. The Mishnah is the queen. Malkisa because it has the aleph at the end, and Malkiah also has the aleph at the end. His name also implies kingship. That's how you remember it. Now, Ma'i Beinayu, what's the difference between these two cases? Ike Beinayu Shvachos. The case of the maidservant, which originally was stated by Rav Malkiah, according to Rav Papa, since it's a Mishnah, it's really going to be stated by Rav Malkiah. Okay. Rabbi Bar Abai kapid afilu arivda de silta. Rabbi Bar Abai was very strict, not even to put anything with a lancet, right? Like even a little bit of yeah, on his wound, a little bit of I don't know. What is it? He would put
insisted that Nokia ashes not be placed even on the tiny piece.
Right. So he had a tiny little. He went to the doctor and got a vaccine. Right. So that the tiny little hole. They took blood. So he wouldn't even put ashes on that because that looks too similar to a tattoo, like we just said. Rav Ashi Amar Kol Makom Sheish Shamaka Makasim L'Chiachalav. Says Rav Ashi, whenever you have a wound, so everyone knows that you're putting the ashes on the wound to heal the wound. Mm-hmm. No one thinks you're making a tattoo. So when you have a wound, the wound proves itself, so to speak, and therefore it would be permitted. Okay. Next Mishnah. So more things about Malchus doing the same thing many, many times. How many are you liable? So Nazir Shahaya Shosi Yayin, a Nazir we know can't drink wine. Let's say he decided to drink wine the whole day. Shosi Yayin Kollel. Is liable one, liable all. Ein Chayv Ela Achas. You're only liable one for drinking wine. Amrulo. Let's say you were warned. Al tishta, don't drink. Who shosa? You're chayv al kol achas achas. For every warning that you violated, you are going to be liable. Hayamitami lemesim. The nazir also can't impurify himself by touching or going to the grave and becoming impure to a dead body. So if it's mitami lemesim kol yom, he's on the grave the whole day. Ein chayv al achas. Amrulo al tatame. But they told him twice not to impurify yourself, and he does it. He's liable for each one of the warnings that he violated. 3, hayam megaleach. Now it's interesting. He was shaving the whole day. He was getting a haircut the whole day. How long does it take to get a haircut? Yeah, I guess hayam megaleach kol hayom. So he continues to cut his hair for the whole day. Eino chayv alachas. It's one violation of don't get a haircut. Amrlo, if they told you twice, al tegalech, hu megaleach chayv al achas. Same idea. Third case, that if you every warning that you violate, so then you're liable for lashes. Now, hayalavush b'kilayim kol hayom. You're wearing forbidden clothing, wool and linen together. Hayalavush b'kilayim kol hayom. Eino chayv ela achas. You're only liable one for wearing kilayim. Amrulo al tilbash. Don't wear. Who poshet velobish. He took off his clothing and put it back on. You're liable for each and every warning that you violate. Al kol achas v'achas. Amrulo. Yeah, Amrulo al tilbash. Oh, sorry, yeah, that we did already. Yeah, okay. Yeah, turn the page. Yesh choresh. That is interesting. Yesh choresh telem. You plow a furrow. You can plow one furrow and be liable 8 lashes. Yesh choresh telem echad. You get 8 lashes. So now what's the case? So you're plowing with the ox and the donkey, which you're not allowed to do. That's one. They're holy. We'll see it's referring to the fact that they're a firstborn animal that should go to the Kohen. That's 2. The kilayim b'kerem in the vineyard you're plowing is going to be forbidden mixtures of grapes and other things that kilayim in the vineyard. So, and we'll see what that means, because by plowing it sounds like you're covering over the seeds and you're helping the growth. That's 3. B'shvius, it was the 7th year of Shemitah. That's 4. It also happens to be Yontif is 5. The Kohen v'Nazir. It also, you were a Kohen and a Nazir. That's 6 and 7. And it was actually happened to be in the graveyard. You're cleaning up the Kesher cemetery. You just chose the wrong day and the wrong time to do it. You're cleaning it up on Yontif. So now that's going to be 8. So Chananya ben Chakinai Omer Af Halovish Kilayim. No, add one more. You're wearing kilayim. I said, no, you missed it. Amrulo Eino Hashem. What's that have to do with anything? Wearing kilayim. That doesn't have to do with plowing. So Amrulo, he told him, so Af HaNazir Lahu Hashem. Being a Nazir also doesn't have to do with plowing, and you counted being a Nazir. So I'm adding one more, and I'm adding that he was wearing kilayim. Fine. So now, was that?
So kind of has feeling of the thanks in the Haggadah.
In the Haggadah, what you're saying? Yeah. I mean, I was a little bit bothered about like what's this doing here? It's just telling you a case like what, like you should know that it found a way to be liable for 8. I mean, we can think of our own ways to be liable for a lot of things. So
just a way to remember all that.
I guess so. Maybe there's for certain details that was mentioned. Okay, so Amar Bibi Amar Rabbi Yossi Poshet Velovish. So when it says that you have to take off it's probably mentioned for to teach you some of the details in these 8 cases. So when it says you have to take off your clothing and put it back on to be liable again for wearing kilayim, so what does that mean? You have to actually take it off, or afilu machnis umotzi beis yad unkali shalom. So let's say you just take your hands out of the sleeve and put it back in. Is that considered like you did it again? You have to actually remove the garment off your body. Now, it's interesting because even if you take your hands out of the sleeves, you're still wearing the shirt. Right. So you should still be over kilayim. So unless you have to say, that's not considered wearing. That's wearing is when it's wearing, like however you normally wear something. But it's just funny to me because I don't think that's true. I think there's cases where even you have like the Gemara talks about you're sitting on a chair and it's made out of wool and linen, and you have I guess that means it's not wearing. That's only just getting. Yeah, whatever. And there's a small strand off the chair, off the cushion, that goes on your leg and gives you some warmth. That's also kilayim. So it's interesting here. When you're not putting your hands in the sleeves, the Gemara thinks that maybe that should be like a new wearing of kilayim. It's interesting. Like, why should that be true? I'm not sure exactly. You're still wearing the other part of the garment. Yeah, okay, look into it. So Machir of Acha Braid Ravika. So he showed Iyule the Afuke. It sounds like he showed you actually have to what? You have to actually take it off, not just take your hands out. Yeah, if the mamish take it off, take off the garment and put it back on to be liable. Okay. Ravashi Omer Afilulo Shaha Elekre Livshod Velilvo Shchaya. This is a big novelty that Ravashi holds. You don't have to do anything. As long as you waited the amount of time it takes to remove the garment and then put it back on, you'll be liable again. So someone tells you, don't wear kilayim, don't wear kilayim. They give you 2 warnings. So, and you continue wearing it for the amount of time it takes to take it off and put it back on, that's also going to be liable. Yeah. Okay. Yesh choresh talam. So now this idea of the furrow that gets you 8. Amar of Yanai b'chabura nimnu v'gamru. So our chabura, our group of people, we came to the following conclusion. We voted and decided the following: hachofa b'kilayim loka, one who covers over the seed of a forbidden mixture in the field. is going to be it gets lashes. Just not only planting kilayim, not only they have to actually put the seeds in the ground, but even covering it over will also get somebody malchus, lashes. Amar lehen Rabbi Yochanan, lav mishnah seinuhi. Like you guys came to your own conclusion. Isn't it a mishnah? Our mishnah. Yesh chorish, you plow a furrow, echad, one furrow. V'chayev for 8 things. Lav mishum shmona 11. Achoresh, you plow b'shor v'chamor with your donkey and your ox. Bein mukdashin, and they're holy b'kilayim b'kerem, and there are kilayim b'kerem. So what's the case when you're plowing and you're liable for the violation of planting, sowing forbidden mixtures in your field? What's the case? You didn't put anything into the ground, you just were plowing. The azil, is it not a case where you covered over, you continued plowing and the dirt covers over the seeds, and that makes you liable for kilayim, which would mean that what you rabbis concluded was an explicit mishnah in Makkos. Amrlei ilav dedoyla chaspa mi mishkachas marganisa tuta. A phrase that's used sometimes. If you wouldn't have removed the earthenware, so I would never have found this pearl. Meaning, because of this that you showed me, this mishnah, really what I said is in the mishnah, you showed me a pearl. You showed me jewels. Jewels. Jewels, he showed me jewels. So you have to just take off the earthenware jewels and then you find the jewels. Yeah. So yeah, so I'm Reish Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan. So I'm Reish Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan. Reish Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan. So ilav de kilsach gaver rabba. If you didn't praise this person so greatly, hava amina, I would have thought that our Mishnah Masis and Mani Rabbi Akiva, it would be the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. If not for your tremendous praise you just gave, I would have thought that you can make the Mishnah like Rabbi Akiva. The Amar Hamakayim Kilayim Loket. One who just maintains Kilayim is Loket without doing anything. Just maintaining the Kilayim, you're already going to be in violation of Kilayim. Now, who's Rabbi Akiva? Where did he say this? My Rabbi Akiva, the Tanya, in the following brisa. So, Hamenachesh, one who weeds. Yeah?
One who pulls out weeds or covers seeds with earth.
Should we make a Steve comment? Okay, fine. We won't. One who weeds, or one who covers over the kilayim, loka. So meaning you have to do something. Do something to get malchus. Rabbi Akiva Omer says, no. Afa Mekayim, you knew that there were kilayim in your field. You're well aware, and you leave them there. So that you'll also be in violation of keeping kilayim. My time at Rabbi Akiva, what's the reason of Rabbi Akiva? The Tanya, the Brisa says, Sadcha lo sizra kilayim. You cannot plant kilayim in your field. So Eini elazoreya, you got to put the seeds in the ground. Then you violated kilayim. So Mekayim minayin, just keeping the kilayim there, still you get the violation. How do you know that? Talmud Lomar, it says kilayim sadcha lo, that the kilayim of your field, no. Meaning, even just keeping him there is not okay. You can't even keep him there. They have to get there. Well, two things. It could be you put him there, and then you'll be violated again by keeping him there. Or you bought a field from somebody. Oh yeah, in this field there's a bunch of grapes and this and that. They're like, whoa, and you didn't do anything about it. I have in my head that there's a Gemara in beginning of Yevamos or Kiddushin. It talks about like, so you know that there's kilayim there. So if you're on your way to uproot them, then you're fine. If you didn't uproot them for a certain amount of time, then you violated the prohibition. So different ways to be violated. Yeah. More time than I thought. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Amr Lei Ula Rav Nachman Vililki Nami Mishum zoreya b'yantif. So one of the violations in the Mishnah should have been that you actually planted on Yantif. Now, it only said that you violated for plowing on Yantif. But what about the actual, when the dirt covered over the seeds, then you just told me that by kilayim, just covering the dirt over is like planting the kilayim. Well, hold on. Once you said that, you can't plant on a holiday either. And that's also a prohibition, just like on Shabbos. So says the Gemara, Amar Le, Tana v'Shayir. You're right. It listed 8, but it wasn't only 8. It was more than that. It left some out. Says that doesn't make sense. Amar Le, Tana v'Kani Shmona. The At Amr is Tana v'Shayir. If it listed 3, 2 or 3, you could say it left out a whole bunch. But when it listed 8, so it listed 8 and no more. Meaning, if you wanted to list only a few and then write etc., so do that. If you want to list a bunch, so it doesn't make sense that it would leave it out. Oh, so now Amar Rava. So Amar Rava, the answer is like this: Yesh chiluk malachas b'Shabbos, the ein chiluk malachas b'yantif. So we know, it's really a dispute in Shabbos, 2 opinions, but chiluk malachas means that if you do a bunch of the prohibitions in one lapse, meaning you're in one forgetfulness, you're going to be liable for each and every malacha that you do. So, so if you forgot that you can't violate Shabbos, and you went and you planted and you sowed and you did it, and then you remembered, oh my gosh, it was Shabbos today. So you're liable for each one of those. But on Yantif, we don't say that. On Yantif, you're only liable 1. So here also, here also that that's why we only listed 1, because it's Yontif. You'll be liable only 1. You won't be liable for that one also. So
you're only liable for one set of last.
Right. Now,
even on Yontif, you do several things.
Right, and you'll be liable only for 1, not for all of them. I'm just bothered by. I'm just bothered by that. This idea of this one lapse, one forgetfulness. You're liable only 1, or you're liable for all 39, or whatever, however many you did. That's when it comes to like bringing a sacrifice. But if I know I can't plow, and I know I can't plant, so both of those are prohibited on Yom. But
if one deliberately performs several different malachas on Yom, is liable to pay only for one step. The law applies where received only one warning before performing a series of malachas.
Even if you do it deliberately.
Even if you receive distinct warnings for performing a different malacha in a single act, like here where the plower performed 2 by plowing and sowing in a single act.
So meaning even if you do it deliberately. Yeah, as I said, even if you did it deliberately, you only be liable for 1. Meaning if someone warns you, one warning that you can't violate Yanta or whatever, and you go and you do a bunch of things deliberately, you'll be liable. Okay, so that's why we only mention 1, because you're only liable for 1 if you got 1 warning. So okay, fine. So that only applies. That doesn't apply on Yontif. On Yontif, you're only liable 1, not liable for each and every one that you did. Amar Le.
So that says Yontif is more lenient.
Yeah, it's always more lenient, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, it's more lenient.
Right.
It has more leniencies. It is more lenient. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Amar Le Ada. Amar Le Tehe. Amar Le Ada Tehe. What does it mean? Amar Le, what it should be like you said. He agrees. You guys know what it means? Yeah, Zos Tehe. Okay, yeah, exactly. It should be like you said. This makes sense. This idea that we only mentioned 1, because on Yontif, if you get 1 warning, you'll only be liable 1 and not a whole bunch of them. That's why the Mishnah only mentioned 1, and didn't mention also sowing. The Mishnah only mentioned plowing. Yeah, okay, we'll stop here. Start the next part tomorrow. Why rush it? No.